And welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have a vegetarian lasagna for you. Now, a couple of weeks ago we did a lasagna bolognese with a meat sauce. This time we're doing a little bit of a different variation of this. This is a veggie version of it. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that we have an affiliate link with Chef's Temp. If you need a kitchen thermometer or a meat probe, you can get 15% off if you follow the link in our description and use code LOVEYOURFOOD on checkout. But let's go with our ingredients. So we've got our lasagna noodles, raw. We've got some tomato sauce, a bechamel sauce, instead of the cheese mixture we used last time. We are still using cheese. We've got some romano and some mozzarella. And we're using two different kinds of mushrooms. We've got some crimini mushrooms and some shiitake mushrooms. And the first thing we're going to do is get our mushrooms ready. Now for the shiitake mushrooms, if the stems are really woody or tough, we're going to cut those off. If they're still a little springy and nice and soft, we're just going to leave them in and give them a rough chop with everything else. Now for this, we need to just give them sort of a rough chop. They don't need to be super even. They don't need to be super small. It doesn't need to be, perfect and tiny like that duxelle sauce we made for the beef Wellington. Same with the crimini mushrooms. Now these are going to go into a pan. They're going to cook for a while and they're going to shrink down quite a lot. So, a rough chop is just fine for these. So we're going to put these into our hot pan with some butter. You can see the butter foaming just a little there. And in go the mushrooms. Now, this may look like a slightly crowded pan, but that's fine. These are going to shrink a lot as they cook. And that's one thing that I think most people do is they undercook their mushrooms. So you want them to shrink a lot and get all that moisture out and get a lot of nice color. We're adding some salt there and a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper. Now we're going to cook these for some time. They are going to shrink down a lot. They're going to get a lot of color. They're going to be really, really nice by the end. In the meantime, we're going to grate our romano and mozzarella cheese together. We want to mix them up a little bit together. So this is for the inside of the lasagna. Now you can see these have shrunk down a lot already. They're about halfway there. So we're going to put that back on the heat, just give it a little stir. They don't have a lot of color yet, so we're just going to let that cook down a little bit further. And there you go. So this is about where we want it. They're really nice and small, and they've got a lot of sear and a lot of nice color on them. Now we have these beautiful Gotham steel pans, and they're really helpful because they're mostly non-stick, but they do still hold on to a little bit of fond at the bottom there, which we will deglaze with a little bit of cognac, which is perfect. We're just going to add a little bit of that in there and get all that amazing flavor and add that to our sauce for just that extra little kick of flavor at the end. And that's going to go into our tomato sauce, and we're just going to stir that in. And this is going to be the base of this lasagna instead of a meat sauce. And we're just going to get that all mixed up. I'll put a link to the to our tomato sauce recipe as well. So that's all set to go. We're just going to set that aside while we start to assemble our lasagna. So first thing we're going to do is oil our pan. We've got a little bit of olive oil here for that. We're just going to spread that around and make sure it, coats all the sides and the bottom and everything. And we're going to start with a layer of the tomato sauce. So this is our sauce with the mushrooms in it. We're just going to put a nice layer across the bottom here and cover that with our dry, uncooked noodles. They're going to cook in the sauce. They're going to cook in the lasagna, and they'll be nicely al dente by the time they come out. You don't need to pre-cook your lasagna noodles. It's fine. Now for this one, we're not using that cheese mixture we used last time, that nice ricotta and egg mixture. We're using a bechamel sauce, so it's going to be a little bit different. Still going to be beautiful and creamy, but it's definitely a different texture when you use a lot of sauce instead of that mixture. On top of the bechamel sauce, we're going to add some of our cheese mixture. So this is the mozzarella and romano mixture, because we want that nice flavor on the inside. Now the top is going to be just mozzarella by itself, but we're not there yet. So we're going to add another layer of the mushroom sauce, the mushroom tomato sauce here. Another layer of noodles. Another layer of our bechamel sauce on top of that. Until that's, an evenly spread layer on top there. And the rest of the mixed cheese. So this is the Romano mozzarella mixture. Now, if you like us, the ends of your pans are a little too long for your lasagna noodles, it's okay. It'll basically fill in that space. So one more layer of the mushroom sauce here, one more layer of noodles. Our raw, uncooked noodles here. And they're, again, going to come out just fine at the end of this whole process. Last little bit of our, actually, save a little bit of this. You want some of this sauce on top. No, actually, this is the last of the bechamel is going on top here. So a nice even layer. And on top of that is going to go the last little bit of our mushroom tomato sauce. So this is just going to be almost garnished at this point. So just a little bit of that on top, and you're going to spread that around a little bit to keep it, you know, a nice thin, even layer of that. And to top everything off is a layer of just plain mozzarella. So this is not mixed with the romano. This is just mozzarella cheese. And that's going to be our melting cheese for the very, very top of the lasagna. So this is ready to go. This is all set. We've got all of our layers done. We've got the all of our sauces in there. We're going to cover that with a layer of tin foil. Aluminum foil going on top. And this is going to go into our preheated oven. And again, you want this to cook for quite a long time at a lower temperature. You don't want to cook really, really fast. Cooking it a little slower at a lower temperature will give those noodles more time to cook in the sauce. So before it's done, we're going to take that out and take off our aluminum foil. And if you have a little bit of stickage on your on your aluminum foil, that's fine. Just scrape it off with a scraper. Don't worry about that. You can just sort of even it out a little bit and it'll be fine by the end. It's all going to melt together anyway, and you're going to get that nice toasty cover on the outside. So there we go. This is ready to go in for its last little bit of cooking. And then we're going to take that out and take a look at it once it's done and see if it's all the way cooked. And that is looking fantastic. So you've got that nice crispy bubbly cheese on top. You've got the sauces bubbling up the sides. This is cooked all the way through. And those noodles, I promise, are cooked beautifully al dente. Now, this lasagna is a little saucier because we're not using sort of the same thing as we did for the meat lasagna. This one is easier to serve sort of the next day when it's had a little bit of time to set. It's certainly easier to handle when it's cold. When it's hot, it's a little bit saucy because it's made of sauces instead of that cheese mixture. But that's it. Really, really delicious. The mushrooms are such an amazing sort of basically meaty aroma for to replace the meat in the bolognese, and absolutely delicious. We hope you'll give this one a try. If you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. We'd like to thank our patrons over on Patreon, and if you'd like to support us there, I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. And remember to love your food.